Yeah, surreal. I've had probably bigger wins ranking-wise in my career, but nothing was more special than today. Just the atmosphere out there in the fifth was, that grandstand stadium was rocking. Obviously, the majority of the crowd was against me, but it was still a surreal feeling to play that fifth set breaker against a legend like John Isner.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions? Andrew, go right ahead.
Thanks, Gary. Andrew Jones, ESPN and Skate, Double M. You just talk about the emotions from 2 sets to love down and how well he's playing and how difficult he is to play, to come back the way you did and in that tie break to close it out. Is that the best mental that you've ever shown on court in any match?
Yeah, I would have to say so. I always said this, even before we played, I always felt like he had the best serve of all time. I think he's the best server of all time. So with that, it's a huge challenge, even on your serve, just because, if you go down a break, that could be the set right there. And that's how the first 2 sets went. I felt that pressure. I felt that dynamic of, him, maybe kind of not really giving me a rhythm, and then all of a sudden 3-4 in the first set, he's making 6 returns in a row, and it's kind of surprising you. And then you feel that pressure because if you go down a break, it's basically set over. And then in the third set, I just kind of told myself, let's get to a breaker. Like, let's worry about my own service game, and let's just compete. And luckily I was able to get it to a breaker, and then obviously win the breaker. And then the only break of the match came early in the fourth. And then, once you're in the fifth set, anything can happen. And it's just about, who wants it more.
And what you told him at the net when y'all embraced each other, you gave him the point after that, and then he hugged you again before he went off court. How was that exchange?
It was amazing. I think John's one of the best guys on tour, one of the nicest guys on tour. I don't know if he gets that. I don't know if he gets the credit for that, but he's an absolute stand-up. And I just told him congrats on an amazing career. To be top 20 for 10 years in a row, that's an achievement that a lot of people would dream of. And his longevity for a guy that big, it's not easy to do. There's a lot of injuries that usually come with a body like that. But he's been able to stay healthy, and he's been able to rack up W's for almost 2 decades. So I just told him, congrats. And, I told him how good of a person he is, too.
Zach.
What is it like you have a huge win yourself, you get to the third round, equal your greatest major, but in the same vein, you end the career of a guy that you clearly look up to. Well, could you kind of just put that into perspective, what that was like?
Yeah, it was tricky. Because obviously in the moment, in that tiebreaker, you're not really thinking about the fact that it's his last match. Maybe before you start the match you are, but not in that tiebreaker, and not when you're down match point. So when I won the match, I had a lot of positive emotion, and I was really, really happy. But then 1 second later, I felt bad. I genuinely did. And, when I saw him, get emotional in that interview, like I genuinely, felt for him. So it was tricky. It was almost like bittersweet. But obviously at the end of the day, we're all competitors, and, we come here for one reason. And so I'm happy to get the W.
Howard.
Howard Fendrich with the Associated Press. You just mentioned that match point. What is that like in that moment for you, knowing, when this point it ends?
Yeah, I think you got to almost think of it as another point. The more you think of, if I miss a shot here, the match is done, you're probably going to end up missing a shot. So I just tried to stay in the moment, and I knew if I got a first serve in, my chances were going to be higher to win the point. So I just focused on that. I just focused on execution, and I was hitting a lot of tee serves in the match, so I knew if I hit a good wide one, he probably wasn't going to see it coming. And I just really tried to stay in the moment and stay present, and not think about the repercussions if I did miss a ball, or if I did end up not executing.
Michael.
Is there,
Okay,
sorry,
go
if I
ahead,
could
go
just
ahead,
quickly
sorry.
follow. You've been in that situation before, of course, whether today or in general. When you get past that hurdle, what is that feel? I mean, is it joy? Is it relief? Is it, okay, right back to work? What is that sensation like of saving a match point and the match progressing?
It's honestly like a second life. You know, you really feel that. You know, right when you get to that 5-all moment, you know that he's thinking about the match point that he could have won, and he's thinking of the fact that the match could have been over. So, and then you're thinking of the fact that, like, now you're in this match, it's square even. You could have just lost the match. So it's kind of like getting a second life, to be honest.
Michael.
Michael, I cover Riley Opelka and Tommy Paul a lot, and I've seen all of you guys come up together. Could you talk about them having their pro success before you and just sort of how you dealt with that frustration or obviously encouragement by seeing those two guys, for example, and other guys like Francis you mentioned the other day, seeing them have that success and you not quite being able to be at that level? Did that encourage you? Did that frustrate you? Or what was sort of that like, seeing those two guys go up there?
Yeah, you know, definitely, I would say it just encouraged me more than anything. I just knew that if I kept on putting in the work, my game was there. And, you know, I just trusted that. Even though that was tough at times, you know, there was a lot of moments where I didn't know if I was going to be able to get to the level that I thought I was going to be able to get to. But, you know, if anything, if they did it, you know I could do it too, because at one point we were all, you know, the same level, and I just tried to push myself and use their success to inspire me.
Just a reminder, name and affiliation, please.
Dan Wolkin, USA Today. With the runs you've made in the slams this year and the players you've beaten, taking down some really big names, has much changed for you from when you started the year in India at the Challenger there?
It was actually a tour event in India. Yeah. But yeah, definitely. You know, just different confidence. You know, now I really feel like I belong at this level, and I really feel like I can hang with these guys and beat them. And I think that reputation is going around the locker room as well. You know, if guys see my name in the draw, they know it's not an easy out. Maybe last year they would have thought differently. But I really know that this year things have changed, and I feel that within myself, and I feel that, you know, kind of circulating within my peers too. So, you know, I just got to keep on working and keep on testing these guys.
Okay, in the back.
Ashish Malhotra, Al Jazeera. Many years ago, I saw you playing, I think it must have been qualifying for juniors out on those courts, out in the, like, outside the grounds. I wandered over there because the food's cheaper out there. I was watching you, and I figured out who you were, and you know, all these years later, basically, you know, we talked about it a little bit in terms of, you know, comparing yourself to Tommy and others. But you know, what would you tell yourself, that kid back then, in terms of, you know, what that journey has been like from, you know, all the way back then? You were probably about 15 or something to today, making the third round of a slam for the second time this year.
Yeah, you know, I would say I would tell that kid that there's going to be a lot of ups and downs, which there was, but just to stay, you know, and really just trust the process, and you know, wait for my moment to come. You know, I've been unfortunate too with a lot of bad timing of injuries. You know, like when I was top 100 in 2018, 2019, like I was basically main draw of Australian Open and Indian Wells and all those events, and then I got hurt for 5 months. That kind of set me back. I had to start all over again. It was similar after the 2020 season. In 2021, you know, I was injured a lot. So I would tell that kid that there's going to be a lot of ups and downs, but you know, if you really just put in the time and you know, put in the work consistently, that it will pay off, and I'm starting to see that now.